Hello everyone, today we rolled out MCP observability inside of Sentry. I wanted to go and build a couple of different MCP servers just to show you the flow of how you can bring it in here. So today we're going to jump in and set this up against the Vercel MCP server implementation. So they built this really cool MCP adapter that attaches to Next.js that you can use to create MCP servers. So let's jump in and check it out. So here we are inside of the MCP server dashboard, and this is inside of my Sentry environment, obviously, and I'm seeing all of my projects and the MCP communications from here. So I can jump into these, start debugging if I want to, but this isn't what we want to do right now. We want to go and start from total scratch. We're going to use the template that they've built, Vercel, for the model context protocol with Next.js. This is really good getting started one. It's a very basic example. It's just an MCP server, so it's not layering on an existing website or application on it. It's just MCP. So we'll hop down into our command line, and we're going to go ahead and clone that repo down. So we'll do a clone. We'll use the one I've tried before, and we should be good there. We'll move in here, and right out of the gate, we're going to go ahead and just do an npmi to go ahead and do the install. I'm also going to open up a new window over here, and we're going to open this up in Cursor just so we can navigate things a little easier there. Zoom in a little bit. Now, if we go in and expand this out, we can see there's a route here, and this is that MCP server config inside of the route. So we create a handler. We have an async call here that has the server as part of it. We create our server tools here. So every time we build out new tools, they'll be added to this list. Switch back here. Cool. So that ran successfully. It did the install. We are good there. I'm going to go ahead and fire this up on a run. So it's running behind the scenes. So now that MCP server is up and running. I tend to really like the Cursor CLI. So I'm going to go Cursor agent here, even though I have Cursor open and I could interact with it there. I still like the CLI a lot. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to ask it to create a couple more tools for us. Because right now all we have is that echo tool and it just repeats text back. So I want something a little bit more interesting. So let's create 3 more tools in route. And for the tools we use, I like to sometimes do like a base64 conversion tool. So a convert to base64 tool, a snarky hot takes by David Cramer from Sentry tool, and we'll just do a text generation tool. Let's see what it comes up with. So it's going to go and start cooking on those. It's using Opus, so it should happen relatively fast. It's going to go build those out. And while that's building out, let's go and add the MCP server we created here into Cursor. So we'll pop back into Cursor. We'll come up into settings, down into Cursor settings, and we'll hit tools and integrations here. We'll add one. We'll go next MCP is just the name. It's going to give us some junk code that we don't actually want to use at all. So I'm going to clear that out. We'll go URL since we're going to use HTTP streamable as the protocol. And we're going to go ahead and point it at quotes, http://localhost 3000 MCP. Now this part's pretty cool. I'm not going to hit enter there, or save rather. I'm going to go back into Ghosty, and you see nothing's happened so far against it. I'm going to switch back in and I'm going to save it. And when we go and look, it actually starts hitting that MCP path, and we can see it's come back as 200 OKs. So now we'll go in, we'll close out that config. We're not going to need this anymore. And we can see next MCP is here, and one tool is enabled. We've got this echo tool. So we can come in here now. We could go ahead and ask it a question just to make sure it works. So we could say, hey, ask next MCP to echo my text. We can make sure the MCP is actually working before we do anything else. So cool, it called it, and it's echoing back. So everything's good. MCP server's working, tool calls working. It hasn't added the new tool calls yet. Looks like it's still working through those. It just added a bunch. Oh, it looks like it actually just finished. So we got a generate text tool. We've got the snarky hot takes tool. We can get a spice level in there, which I love. And then we got our base64 conversion tool. So these are all running. We know the tools are there now. We know the server's running. Let's go ahead and, it already updated with the new tools. So those are available. Let's just give this a quick cycle to be safe. Cool, all green. And so let's look at how we bring in Sentry now. So I'm going to come back into my terminal window. I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to bring in the Sentry SDKs for Next.js. So npx Sentry wizard. This lets us really scaffold out our configs really fast. We'll choose Next.js. We're going to tell it to continue anyways. We're using Sentry SaaS. We have an account. It's going to prompt us to either select or create a project. So I'm going to go ahead and have it create a new project here. We'll call this one Vercel MCP. assign it to my team. And what this is going to do, it's going to go create the project, grab the DSN, and drop it into the wizard. So just really quick way to scaffold out our project. So that's there now. We're going to choose npm as our package manager. And then we'll go and say no to tunneling, but we are going to turn on tracing. We're not going to turn on replay because it's a server anyways. We will turn on logs. We'll say no to the example page, say no to CI/CD. And that's it. It's fully set up for Sentry now. So getting set up in Next.js with Sentry is really, really easy. The wizard makes that pretty straightforward. You do need to go in and do things like source maps afterwards. But for the most part, this gets you up and running pretty well. So we're good there. We verified that we're actually able to call tools okay. Everything is doing what we want it to. Let's just do a quick test of one of these new tools. Let's do convert our server URL to base64, and we'll use mcp.sentry.dev just to make sure. So that's going to fire off. We're going to make sure the tool call works. Cool. So tool's working. Everything's good there. Let's see how we actually bring in the MCP server monitoring. So right now, all we have is traditional Sentry monitoring. So we have errors, we have logs because we turned those on. We're getting traces through. So there's a lot of stuff we're still getting out of it, but I want to be able to have the depth of monitoring the actual MCP processes. So I'm going to come into app here. I'm going to hit that route. And first things first, I'm going to bring in the Sentry SDK up top. So we'll go import star as Sentry from Sentry Next.js. And now inside of this async call to server, we'll add a couple of lines. We're going to bring sentry.wrapMcpServerWithSentry, and we're going to use that server object. And so this is going to effectively wrap that whole MCP server instance in Sentry and give us that better visibility. So create MCP handler creates that behind the scenes. And since we have the server object here, we just pass that through into the Sentry wrapper. So that's there now, and that's all good. So let's open up a new chat, and let's say, give me 3 hot takes from Cramer, generate me some funny text using the MCP. I'm not entirely sure what's going to work. And then we'll do another one that is convert my name to base64, code EDRClient. Cool. So we'll fire that off. It's going to go and hopefully run a few calls against the MCP server. Cool. So it ran 4 calls total. We'll let it run those hot takes behind the scenes. We don't actually have to pay attention to those at all. And then we'll jump into Sentry and take a look. So we're good here. Let's refresh Sentry, and we'll find our project, Vercel MCP. And cool, we're getting the tool calls are coming through. So we're seeing 5 requests that matches up. That's an other traffic client right now. And then we can see it's using the streamable HTTP transport. So we're happy with that. And we can see the speed of these tool calls below. So the snarky hot takes take longer. They take the longest out of all of them. But we're getting the base64 tool and the generate text tool. Now, awesome. So when things were starting to fail, like if we had an issue with one of these tools, we'd see failing tool calls here. These are all just text-based. So we can't expect much more from that. What's really cool, though, is this ties directly into tracing. And so, for example, if I really liked my spicy hot takes and I wanted to be able to save these to a database, I would obviously instrument that in. But I can instrument it in such a way that I can see that entire communication flow. So when I go in and I make that tool call and then it goes and reaches out to an API server and then writes to a database, I could see that entire path and I could debug and troubleshoot it. And I'd see performance over here, like which calls were slower or faster than others. I can see a bunch of properties that I'm capturing. So there's a lot of information that we're capturing as part of this debug process. And that's really the whole idea here, is to make it really easy to get visibility to what's happening inside of inside of your MCP server. We dealt with this a lot using the Sentry MCP server, which I was just about to say, when we were trying to debug things that were happening inside of it, when it would try to make calls out to APIs, or when we were debugging authentication problems. And so a lot of the stuff we built inside of this were really to help us troubleshoot our own MCP server much easier. And that's really all there is to it. For something like the Vercel MCP implementation, it really is just that one line. Obviously, I had to set up Sentry, but the actual MCP part of this was really just as straightforward as coming in and wrapping that server instance here. So we'd love for you to give it a try. If you build it out with Vercel, let us know. We'd love to hear feedback on it and how we can make it better. Talk to you soon.